In this video, we are going to build this beautiful website from scratch. We start with very simple template and then make it really beautiful with GSAP Animation. And also we make this website completely responsive. So here we have a simple header with two tabs. So we start with the home section. Here we have text with scrolling animation. We are going to move the text to the top and add a smooth animation to it. We do the same for the background panel as well to make everything smoother. Then we create a feature section. Here we simply make a horizontal scrolling, which is currently trending in the web development. Then we have a simple tags with I do section. After that, we add a section with text reveal animation. And at the bottom of this, we add a parallax image with a mountain background. At the end, we add a footer with a simple reveal text animation. So let's create a simple website and convert that with a GSAP animation. So let's start with a blank project. I'm using Visual Studio Code to create this complete template. I'm going to open the empty folder inside it, and here I'm going to create a new folder and name that folder Portfolio. That's upon you, you can specify any name to this project. Inside this folder here, I'm going to create index.html file where we are going to add all the HTMLs, and then we add style.css file. So here we add all the styling of this template. Now inside this HTML, here we simply create HTML5 snippet. So I'm going to press exclamation mark and press tab. So this is going to simply create the HTML5 snippet. Let's name this title to portfolio design. Now let's link style.css file. So just pass here link tag and pass the style.css, this one. Now just out of that, we also need a JavaScript file. We'll create that later. So inside this body, here we first create h1 heading tag. Inside that, I'm going to simply say it portfolio. Save the changes. And now I want to run this HTML file. So I'm using an extension live server, this one. I'm going to install this extension in the VS Code and then use that to start the local development server and execute my HTML code. So let's install this. I already have it. Let me close it. So here in the Explorer tab, right here, I'm going to click on the index.html, right click here and say open with live server. So this is going to open this website in the live server. You can notice. Let me toggle this window on the right side like this. And we have a website on the left side, just like this. Now let's create a header first. So let me get rid of this h1 heading tag because we are not using it. So now here we first add a comment. So I'm going to press Ctrl / to create a comment inside this HTML. And here I'm going to say header. And to close this comment, I'm going to say here / header. This indicate this is the closing header. So I'm going to put all the header inside this comment. Just for that, let's create a tag header. And inside this, we create a division tag with the class container. So we call here div, press dot to create a class and specify class name container. Now inside this container, here we have a navigation menu. So I'm going to create here a nav, create a simple nav tag and say here UL, unordered list. And to this unordered list, we pass some classes. So we first add nav list and show class. Now we create all these classes inside style.css file. Just for now, let me create a header first. So let me add here li tag, and inside that we have an anchor tag. And just for now, I'm going to put here work. And inside this anchor tag, here we pass a text work. Let me duplicate this just like this. And I'm going to change this to about. And the link is also going to be about. I'm going to save the changes. You can see we have here navigation items. We have here word and about. Now, just out of that, just down right here, just out of this navigation menu, here I'm going to create a comment and say Handburger. So we are going to create here Handburger Menu. So let me show you that first. So let me open my finished website first. So this is the finished website. So inside this website here, we have a Handburger Menu. When we click on it, we're going to have the work and about section. So we're going to move the navigation menu to the right side and add this Handburger Menu. So to create this Handburger Menu, here we create Handburger Menu and add h5 heading tag with menu text. And then we create a division tag again with Handburger division tag and then add a span tag. We create two span tag here because we have two lines inside this Hamburger Menu. If you want 3 lines, then you can add one more span tag just down here. That's upon you. Now let me save the changes, and you can see we have this word and this menu text. Let me just use style.css to style this section. So as you know, we already linked this style.css to the HTML. So inside this style.css, here we first need to import fonts, which we are using in this template. We are going to use 2 fonts inside this template. So search for Google Fonts and click on this Google Fonts website. Just head on to fonts.google.com and search for your favorite font. I'm using Poppins font, so I'm going to search for Poppins. I'm using this font in my website, so I'm going to click on this get font. Just heard that. I'm going to back to the font again, and then I'm going to search for Bebas Neo, this font. Search for it and click on get font. So currently I've selected 2 font families, you can notice, and I wanted to get these font families. So I'm going to click on this get embedded code and then click on this import statement. So just copy this code and paste that inside the style.css, just like this. Then get rid of this style tag. Now you'll notice here inside this URL, we have 2 fonts, you can notice. Now let's use both these fonts inside this project. So let me close this tab, back to my project, and here I'm going to add CSS variables. Now to create CSS variable, you need root, and inside this root, you create variables. So to create variables, you first specify double dash and then specify your variable name. I'm going to say here primary color, and then I'm going to specify here a color to this variable, just like this, a hex color. So I'm using this color throughout this template. So I'm going to store that color inside this variable. So it's easy to access this hex color with this variable name. Now I'm going to do the same for all the variables. So let me just put all my variables just down here, just like this. So I'm going to use border color, black color, white color, and I'm using the font family as well. So I'm going to create primary font and secondary font variable and pass both these font families to this variable. So it's easy to access both these variables. Just down here, I'm going to select asterisk to select all the tags. And then I'm going to say margin 0. We remove all the margin. Then we remove all the padding as well from all the HTML tags. And then we specify box sizing, border box. Just after that, right down here, I'm going to select body, a body tag, and then specify a default font family. So I'm going to say here font family. And as you know, we have this primary font family. Let's copy this. And to use this variable inside CSS, you need a var function. So inside this var function, you can pass the variable name, just like this. Just out of that, I wanted to use some background color to this body, to this template. So I'm using UI gradient website. So if you search for uigradient.com, then you can easily access different gradients from here. I'm using this gradient as a background to my template. So I'm simply going to pass that background gradient color to my template. So using this 3 statement, we are going to pass that white background color to this body. Let me specify font family to all the H1 heading tags. So I'm going to select H1, then select H2 and select all the heading tags and then pass font family, which is a primary font, something like this. Just out of that, I want to remove this border from the anchor tag. So I'm going to select the anchor tag, a global anchor tag, and then specify text decoration, which is none, and color is going to be inherit to change the blue color of this anchor tag. When I save the changes, you can see this will change the color of this anchor tag and remove the border. Just out of that, we also need to change the UL tag list style, which is none. And then I'm going to select the image which we are using in this template and specify max width, which is going to be 100%. So all the images should have a max width 100%. Just out of that, right down here, once we have all the global classes, let's start styling the header. So I'm going to start the header right here. So I'm going to add here a comment and say header styling. Let me close this comment so that indicates this is the closing of header styling. Now, inside this, I'm going to first select the header as it is, the header tag. And to this header, we first specify the display property, which is flex, and then justify content is going to be center. And we also need Z index to this header, which is 1000. Just for that, I wanted to make this header fixed to the top. Let me first save the switches. You can see we have all the text at the center of the document. I wanted to fix this header to the top. So here I'm going to specify position fix and width is going to be 100. Let me change the color of the header just for now. So if I specify background color blue, you will notice we have this header here. Now just after that, right here, I'm going to select the container class. If you notice in the HTML, here we have a container class. Let me select that. So inside this header, we have this division tag container. Let's select that. And I'm going to specify here width 80%. Then specify display flex and justify content end. Now we are going to move this text to the right side. So we pass here justify content end. When I say the changes, you can see we move this text to the right side. Now, do you know if you're using the latest CSS, then you can use this container inside this header as well as a nested CSS element. Let me show you. In the latest version of CSS, you can easily grab this code and use a nested CSS just like this. You can use this container right inside this header. You can also use your ampersand, which refers to the parent element, this one. I'm using here just a container, just like this. Now, to this container here, we pass align items, which is center, to center both this statement. Specify padding 1 rem to the top and bottom and 0 for the left and right. Just after that, we specify position, which is relative. Save the changes. And just after that, right down here, you can notice we have this navigation menu inside this container. So let's select that. So as you know, we have this navigation menu inside a container. So right down here inside this container, I can simply select nav and then select border radius, which is 0.2 rem. Then I'm going to specify position absolute. Right is going to be 0 and top is going to be 6 viewport height, just like this. So I'm just going to position the navigation tabs. So let me just grab this background color and pass that right here to show you what we are going to do. So let me change this color to this one. Save the changes. You can see we're going to just move this word right down here. Now, just out of this now, right inside that, you can see we have this UL tags. Let's style this. If we select UL, display is going to be flex. Then we specify flex direction column. Then align items is going to be center. And just out of that, we specify color to it. So we pass here a function var and select the black color. Just out of that, we also need a background color. So we specify background color, call the var function and select the white color, this one. So we already have a variable white color. So we pass that color to this UL tag. Just out of that, here I'm going to say width. Width is going to be 150 pixel. We also add height, which is 120 pixel. And we say overflow initial. At the end, we pass opacity, which is 1. And border radius is going to be 0.2 rem. Just out of that, let me just get rid of this background color from this navigation menu. Now inside this UL tag, we also have the li tag. So we select the li, the list tag, and then specify padding here. Padding is going to be 1 rem to the top and bottom and 2 rem to the left and right. After that, we select the anchor tag inside the li tag. So select anchor, and here we say font width 500. Save the changes, and to the li tag, center this text. So I'm going to say text align center, just like this. So this will center this text. Just after that, we also need to add a hover effect. So this anchor tag, this one here, I'm going to pass ampersand So this ampersand refers to this anchor tag, and here we call a colon and say hover. And to this hover, we pass color, var, and then specify the primary color. Save the changes, and now when I hover on it, you can see we have this primary color to this text. To this UL, you can see we also have a show class. So let me just create that class right inside this UL tag. So just out of this li, right down here, we create here show, and then specify here height, which is 0. Overflow is going to be hidden, and opacity is going to be 0. Save the changes, and let me add here ampersand. And now this won't do anything until you pass here ampersand. Now because ampersand refers to this UL tag, so it means you're going to create this class and pass that class to the UL tag. You need to pass here ampersand. So I'm going to pass here ampersand, just like this. So when I save the changes, you won't see anything right here because now we remove the height, overflow is going to be hidden, and opacity is now 0. So now when I remove this class right from here, you can see, you can easily see your text. Before we move on, I need to specify transition to this UL tag. So let's specify transition to all 0.4 second is out. Let me save the changes. You can see this will add some effect to this text. Now just out of that, just out of this now, let me minimize it. Just out of this now, right down here, I'm going to add a hamburger menu. I'm going to select this division tag, hamburger menu. So let's add here ampersand dot hamburger menu, and here I'm going to specify display flex. Gap is going to be 0.7 rem, and cursor is going to be pointer. Just out that, I'm going to specify font size, which is 1.5 rem, and color is going to be white color. So I'm going to select the variable white color. Inside that, we have this hamburger class. So let's select that. So just pass here dot hamburger, just like this, and specify display flex, flex direction, which is going to be column, and justify content center. And at the end, we specify cursor pointer and position relative. So we pass all that to this division tag. Just out of that, let me style this span tag. So inside this div, as you know, we have this span tag. So select the span tag, and display is going to be block. Width is going to be 1.5 rem, and height is going to be 2 pixel, just 2 pixel. And make sure you pass the background color to see this span tag. So just pass your var, and I'm going to choose this border color. Save the changes. You can see we have this span tag right here, and we also have this pointer to this span tag. Now just out of that, you also need margin. The margin is going to be 0.20 rem to the top and bottom, and 0 for the left and right. So now when I save the changes, you can see I'm going to have here 2 span tags. Now what I want to change the size of this menu. Oops, I think I misspelled here. It's not font family, it is font size, which is 1.5 rem. When I save the changes, now you can see we have the result what we want. When we move further, I'm going to remove this background color. So this is how we create a simple navigation menu inside this template. Now when you click on this button, I'm going to show and hide these tabs. We'll do that later in this course. Just for now, let's move to the next section where we are going to create this home section of this template. Let's see how to create this. Now, once you understand how to create this navigation menu, let's understand how to create this home section. We're going to add this portfolio name, background rectangles, and the background color. And then we add the text right down here. So I'm just going to first remove this background color of this header. And I'm going to add here show class to hide these tabs. Just like this. Now, just after this header, right down here, we're going to add the main section. So let me just toggle this window on the right side. just like this. Get rid of these tabs, and right down here, we add the main section. Let me add that here, just like this. This is the closing main section. Now to create a main section, we create and add a main tag with the ID site main. And inside the site main here, we create the hero section. So add a comment here and say hero, and I'm going to close this hero section right here. So we call here closing hero section. Now inside this, we create a new tag section and then specify class to it, hero section, just like this. And then inside that, we create a container, a div with the class container, and then add hero content. And inside this hero content, we add a title. So we add here a wrapper first. And inside that, we have h1 heading tag with a class called title. And here I'm going to say, hi, I am. And then I'm going to copy this wrapper, paste it just down here, just like this. And then I'm going to change this text to John Doe. Now that's upon you. You can specify any name here. Name could be your as well. That's upon you. This is a portfolio website. So you specify your name here. And just after that, just after this div, here we add a paragraph with the class post. And then we specify text here, web developer. Just after that, let me style this. So back to the style.css file, minimize this header right down here. Let me add here a comment and say closing header styling, just like. And then I'm going to create a new hero section styling. Let me close that as well. So I'm going to say hero styling. So I'm going to just close this hero styling here. Get rid of this, just right from here. And now here, I'm going to first select the hero section, this one, just like this. And then we specify display flex, justify content center, and align items center to center everything. So you can see we have all the text to the center of the document with these statements. Just for that, we add height to it. Height is going to be 100 viewport height. Then add background color. So I'm going to add here a gradient background color to this complete home section. So I'm using the UI gradient website and add a background color here. So I'm going to copy and paste a background color just like this. If you want, you can pause the video and copy this X values. Now, let me save the changes. You can see we have this background color to this home section. Now let me style this text. So now we need to first select the container. As you know, inside this index, we have this container and hero section and the title. So let's first select the container, and then inside that container, we have a wrapper class. I'm going to leave the wrapper class for now and select the title class. This one, this title class. And to this title, we specify font size, which is going to be 20 viewport width. Now you can notice how I specify width to this font size property. Just for that, here we specify font width 600. Then I'm going to specify color, which is going to be var white color, and text align is going to be center, just like this. Just for that, add font family, which is secondary font. I'm going to use the secondary font, this one, and then I'm going to add font style is going to be normal. Line height is going to be 0.9. Save the changes. Now let me change this font weight to 400, just like this. Now just out of that, let me select the post. So just out of this title here, I'm going to select the post class. Font size is going to be 2 gram. Color is going to be var white color, and text align is center, and margin top is going to be 1 gram. Then I'm going to add font family, which is secondary font. Let me save the changes. You can see we have the text right down here. Now just for that, I want to add here a comma, just like this, and add this particle. So back to the home page, here I'm going to add a comma right here. And then I'm going to add, just out this hero content right down here, I'm going to add particles, a division tag, and then create here a rectangle. So to create rectangles here, we create a div with the class rectangles, just like this. And we identify these rectangles with underscore 0 class. Now we'll create 4 rectangles. So I'm going to duplicate this 4 times, and I'm going to change this to rectangle 1, 2, and 3. This is not going to do anything right here. You can see we have this comma here, you can notice. So let's style this division tag. So back to the style.css, and right down here, just after this post right here, as you know, we have these articles inside a container. You can notice. So inside this container right here, I'm going to select the particles just like this. I'm going to select this class particles. Just out of that, as you know, inside these particles, we have this division tag with the class rectangle. So let's copy it. And then in the particles, we select the rectangles just like this, and then specify width, which is going to be 40 pixel, and height is also going to be 40 pixel. Then we add a background color to it. So let's add a background color. I'm using here RGB background color, just like this, and then add box shadow 9 pixel, 2 pixel, 13 pixel, and RGB alpha color, just like this. Save the changes, back to the website. You can see we have these rectangles here. Let me just add position, absolute top is going to be 10, viewport width. So we have all the rectangles right here. Then we add left 44, viewport width, and z index is going to be 1. At the end, we add transform, rotate 45 degree. Save the changes. You can see we have this rectangle here. Let me just specify different position to this rectangle and change the scale of this rectangle. So to do that, inside this rectangle, we also have a class underscore 0. So inside this, here we add ampersand dot underscore 0. Now I'm going to say top 15 viewport height and left 19 viewport width. So we change the position of the first rectangle. I'm going to select the second one. So select ampersand again, say dot underscore 1. Make sure you don't have space between ampersand and this dot, because we have this class inside this rectangle. So ampersand refers to the rectangle, and we pass here dot the class name. Just out that, here we pass top 34 viewport height and left 73 viewport width. Then we add transform scale 0.8 and rotate is going to be 20 degree. Save the changes. You can see we have the second rectangle here. Let me copy this, paste that here, change this to 2. Top is going to be 70, viewport height, and width is going to be 89, viewport width. I'm going to get rid of this scale and do the same. So copy and paste this class again. This is going to be rectangle 3, 70 viewport height, and left is 9 viewport width. Just out of that, I'm going to change the scale to 0.720 degree. Let me save the changes, and you can see we have the result what we want. I want to specify border radius to these rectangles. At the top, right up here, make sure you add border radius. So we pass here border radius 6 pixel, and you can see we have these rectangles here. Now the home section is now completely ready. Let's move to this work section, where we are going to add all these images inside a grid and add this hover effect on it. Now, once we have the home section, let's move to the next section where we have this work section. So inside this work section, we're going to simply create the grid of images. So we have in images in the grid items. And then we add this hover effect to it, and we have just a simple title. So just back to the index.html, minimize this hero section, and right down here, we create the work section, and make sure you close this work section. So we say here work section. Now this indicates that this is the closing work section. And inside this here, we create a section and name that work section. Now that's upon you. You can specify ID to it. I'm going to specify ID work. Inside this section here, we add a division tag with the class container, and then add work title here. So let's add here a comment and say work title, just like this. And here add work title division tag, and then add h1 heading tag. And to this h1 heading tag, here we add a text feature work. Now just after that, just after this div right down here, I'm going to add a comment and say grid layout. And right down here, I'm going to create all the images, this one. So here we add work grid, a division tag, and inside that we have grid items. So I'm going to name this div work item or item. That's upon you. And inside that we have an image. So currently I don't have any image inside this project. So let me copy and paste few images inside this project. Don't worry, you can download all the images from the link provided in the description. So I'm going to paste the asset folder and paste all the images which we are using in this template. So inside this image right here to the source, I'm going to select first the asset folder, and inside that we have the image 1, and the alt attribute is going to be work1. Let me copy this div, paste it just down here because we have 2 columns. You can notice inside this grid, create the division tag just down here, and this change, I'm going to change this to image 2. Let me save the changes. You can see we have these images here. Now let me copy this complete div, paste it just down here, and change these images. Now this became image 3 and this became image 4. Let me copy this, paste it just down here. This became image 5, 6. Copy this, paste it just down here. Image 7 and 8. Save the changes. Now we have all the images, you can notice, just down here. Let's back to the styling. So back to the style.css, minimize this hero section, and right down here, I'm going to add the work section styling, and make sure we close that just like this. Work section styling. Now to style this, we first select the work ID. But notice we already have this work ID. This one, I'm going to select this section tag, work ID, and to this, we first specify margin, which is 0 rem to the top and bottom, and 3 rem to the left and right. So we add some margin to the left and right section. Just like that, let's select this work title, just like this, add height to it, which is 13 viewport height. Margin bottom is going to be 2 viewport height, and display is going to be flex. Then we say justify content center and align items center. Save the changes, and you can see we have this text at the top. Now let me change the size of this text. So let me select the h1 heading tag. As you know, we have this h1 heading tag right here. So let's select the h1 heading tag, and then I'm going to specify here font size 38 pixel. Font width is going to be 200. Text align center, and font family is going to be primary font. Save the changes. You can see we have the text what we want. Instead of using this font size, I'm going to use here a function called calc, and here I'm going to say 36 pixel plus 8 divided by the viewport. So in the double parenthesis, here we say 100 viewport width minus 320 pixel, the smallest viewport of the mobile, divided by 680. Now you can see we just added some calculation to this font size to make this title completely responsive to all the viewports. Now just for that, once we have it, just out of this title, inside this work section, here we say work grade. Let me select this work grade class, this one, and here we specify display grade. Then grade template columns is going to be 3 FR and 7 FR. So I'm going to pass 3 FR to the first column and 7 FR to the next column, this one. So we have different width to both these grid items. I think I misspelled something. It's work grid. I just put here word grid. So now when I say the changes, you can notice we have the result something like this. Now we also need a gap between these images. So I'm going to add here gap 0.5 rem. And then what I want to change this grade columns. So what I want, to the first row, I want 3 FR to the first column and 7 FR to the second column. And on the second row, I want 7 FR to the first column and do the same for all the rest of the columns. So to do that, I'm using the nth child odd CSS method. So here I'm going to add first ampersand, say here colon, and then say nth child, and then add here odd. And to this odd, I'm going to copy this statement, paste it here, and then I'm going to change this to 7 FR to the first column and 3 FR to the second column. Let me save the changes. I'm going to have the result what I want. Just for that, I also want some padding top, which is 0.5 rem. I'm going to have padding right here as well. You can notice I want to remove this white space from this image. And as you can see, we have this work item inside this work grid. So let's copy it inside this work grid right here. I'm going to select the work item and select all the descendant images. And to these images, we first select width 100%, height is going to be 100%, and then we have a max height, which is going to be 100%, and object fit is going to be cover. And let's save the changes. You can see now it's going to cover the white spaces. You can notice. So for that, we add filter brightness, which is 0.5. Cursor is going to be pointer. And just after that, I'm going to add here hover effect. So pass ampersand colon, then add filter brightness 0.8. Save the changes, and now when you hover on the image, you can see you have this hover effect. Now you can notice the work section is now completely ready. Now let's understand how to create this I do section of this template. I'm simply going to add here I do title, and then we add some tags right down here. So let's see how to add this in this template, just down here. Back to the index.html, minimize this work section, and right down here we add what I do, just like this. And now right inside this, we create a section called I do. Let's add ID also. I do. It's need to be section. So we create a section tag with the class I do and ID I do. Just for that, here we add a container. Then we add I do title. Here we add the h1 heading tag, and we specify ID to it, and then specify here what I do. Just out of that, say the changes. You can notice we have this title here. Right down here, we create I do content, a division tag with the class I do content, just like this, and then add here another div with the class I do items or item. That's about you. And then right inside this, we have here SVG. You can notice here. I'm going to add this SVG right here inside this I do. So let me copy and paste that SVG right here. Just out of that, let me minimize this, and right down here, I'm going to add H3 heading tag with the text wave design. I'm going to create one more I do item. Let's copy this, paste it here, and I'm going to create one more I do item here. So let's copy this, paste that again, and change this text to editorial content. Let me copy this, paste it just down here, just like this. Change this text to body copy. Let me copy this, paste it again, change this to social strategy. Copy this, paste it here, and change this to website copy. Let me copy it again, paste it here, and change this text to campaign ideas. And at the end, let me copy and paste it again and change this campaign idea to product description. Save the changes, and we have all this text right down here. You can notice. So back to the style.css, minimize this work section. As you know, we have this work section here. So let me add here a comment. I do styling. Let me add a comment again. This is for closing. I do styling. So this, we first select the I do ID, this one. Then I'm going to add here margin, which is 0 rem to the top and bottom and 3 rem to the left and right. Then select the container, this container class, paste that here just like this. Add padding, which is 5 rem to the top and bottom and 3 rem to the left and right. Then add a display flex. Flex direction is going to be column, and align items is to be center. Save the changes, and you can see we have these content at the center of the document. Just out of that, just after this container, we select the I do title. So let's select the I do title just like this. Width is going to be 100%. Then add height, 13 viewport height, display flex, justify content center, and align items center. And just out of that, I'm going to select the I do content. So just after this I do title, here we select I do content. But before we style this I do content, I want to style this what I do title. So what I'm going to do is, as you know, instead of using the same styling, I'm going to create a global class for it. So let me cut this section right from here. And at the top here, I'm going to add a class called heading double underscore title and paste this styling here as it is. Save the changes, copy this class, and now if you scroll up, you won't have the styling to this title. Now to add the styling to this title, you need to head up to this feature section and add a class here, heading title. Let me do the same for this. So let me specify class here, something like this. You can see we have this title styling. Just out of that, back to the style.css, right down here, we have this I do content, and here we pass with 50%, display flex, flex wrap is going to be wrap, and justify content center. When I save the changes, we have the result something like this. Just out of that, I'm going to select this I do item. So inside this I do content, we select the I do items. Here we say display flex, justify content center, and align items center. and then we pass gap 1 rem. And just out of that, inside this, we have this SVG. So let me select that SVG just like this. Width is going to be 2 rem and height is going to be 2 rem. Then I'm going to add align self center. Just out of that, inside this, we also have h3 heading tag, this one. So let me select this h3 heading tag and then specify font size heading tag. And then I'm going to copy this code of the CSS and paste that right here. I'm going to save the changes. I'm going to have this text, but instead of 200, now I'm going to say here font width 500. Get rid of this text alignment and this font family right from here, and text transform going to be uppercase. Now just out of that, instead of 36, now I'm going to say here 26. Save the changes, and now you can see we have the result what we want. So we successfully built this I do section. Next, let's move on and create this about me section of this template. Once we understand how to create this I do section, let's create this about me section. Inside this, we have a simple heading, a paragraph, and a parallax effect. And inside this effect, we have this background mounted image. So let's create this simple section inside this template. So I'm going to back to the index.html, minimize this section, and right down here, as you know, we can create about section. Let me close this about section. This indicates this is the closing about section. So here we create a section tag with the class about section. Now let me add ID as well. ID is going to be about, just like this. And then we create container here. And inside that, we create about content. So first we add h1 heading tag with about me text. And just out of that, just out of this div, here we add a paragraph and add some text here. So let me copy this text and paste that right here, just like this. And just after this division tag, right down here, I'm going to add here cover image parallax effect. So we add here a division tag with the class parallax. That's it. Let me save the changes, and now let me style this. So before we move to the style.css, I'm going to just specify here a class to this h1, which is heading title, this one. We have this global class in the style.css. So let me save this file. We have this about me title here. Now just out of that, back to the style.css, minimize this. Let's create a styling to about me. Let me close this as well. About me styling. Now to style this section, we first select the about, and here we specify display flex direction, column, and justify content center. After that, we add align item center. Save the changes. So we center everything. You can notice. Just out of that, I'm going to select container and then select padding to it. Padding is going to be 5 rem to the top and bottom and 3 rem to the left and right. Just out of that, we add width 40%. So we have a 40% width here to this, and then we select a paragraph like this, text align center, and font style is going to be italic. Save the changes, and you can see we have this text here. Just out of that, just after this container right down here, I'm going to select the parallax class. Now you can notice we have this parallax class after this container. So I'm going to add this just after this container. Here we add background image. So in the URL, pass the background image. So we pass double quote here first, then add dot forward slash assets and add the image 9 here. Just after that, I'm going to add here height 50, viewport height, and width 100%. Just after that, I'm going to say background attachment, which is going to be fixed. I'm going to use this statements to create a parallax scrolling effect. So let me add here a comment and say create parallax scrolling effect. So to create this effect, you need background attachment fix, background position, center, background repeat, no repeat, and background size cover. That's it. Now when I save the changes, you can see we have this background mountain here. Now when we add the footer to this section, we're going to have the result something like this. So now let's create a footer for this template. Let's create this beautiful footer for this template. So let's back to the template and back to the index.html. As you know, here is the about section. Now what we need to do is we need to create a footer just after this main section. So just out of this main here, I'm going to add a comment and say footer section, or you can call it just a footer. Let me close this footer. So I'm going to say here footer. So this indicate this is a closing footer. Let's add here a class called footer with the ID footer. And then we create a container class here. So we create a class container in the div and then add a flex class here, just like this. And inside this flex, we have a left class. And to this left, we have h1 heading tag with the text, let's create, and have a button as well, get in touch. And just out of this div here, we add a right class. And inside this right class, we have h3 heading tag. And I'm going to add here an anchor tag, just like this, and add some social media links here, just like Twitter, LinkedIn, Dribble, and Facebook, just like this. And at the end, before this footer, right here, I'm going to add a paragraph, just like this, and add some copyright text here, something like this. Let me save the changes. You can see we have this footer here. Now let me style this footer with style.css file. So let me back to the style.css, minimize this, and here I'm going to add the footer styling. Let me close this footer here. The footer styling is going to be close right here. Now, the first thing we need is to select the footer, something like this, then specify display flex to it, justify content center, and align items center. Then we add flex direction column and margin. Margin is going to be 0 to the top and bottom and 3 rem to the left and right. So we have the text at the center of the document. Just sort that inside this footer, select the container and then select the width, which is 100%. Then we select padding, which is going to be 10 rem to the top and bottom and 0 to the left and right. So we have the result something like this. Just sort of that, we add border top 1 pixel solid and then add a variable here with black color. Just out of that, we add border bottom 1 pixel solid and add a black color as well, just like this. Just out of that, inside this, we have a flex class. So we select that flex class, then specify display flex and justify content space between. Let me save the changes. And then you can see we have a space between these two elements. Inside this flex, we have a left class. So we select that. And inside that, we have h1 heading tag. So we select h1 just like this and say font size 6, viewport width, and color is going to be black color, something like this. And then we have a button as well. So we select the button just like this. So inside this left, we also have a button. So select that button, add padding, 1 rem to the top and bottom and 4 rem to the left and right. Then we add font size as well here, 1 viewport width. Font family is going to be a primary font family, just like this, and border transparent. And at the end, we specify cursor pointer. So we specify styling to this button, just like this. And we also add a hover effect. So add ampersand, hover, and specify here background color. So just for now, I'm going to specify some hex color here, like this, and then add color, white color. So when I hover on this button, I'm going to have this hover effect. To the social media links, let me add a styling to it. So just after, so inside this flex, you can see we have this right section. So right here, we also have a right section. So select right. Inside that, we have H3 heading tag. Select that, and font size, to viewport width, and color is going to be black color. Save this, and we have these links here. You can notice. And just out of that, as you know, just out of this container, right down here, we have a paragraph. So select this paragraph first. Font size is going to be 1 rem. Text align, center, and padding, which is 2 rem to the top and bottom and 0 to the left and right. You can see we have this footer section. The last thing we need is to add here a dot, and now the footer is now completely ready. You can notice the template is now completely ready. This template looks beautiful, but it's still boring because we don't have any animation to it. What I want to add some interaction to this template and make it more smooth and add some animation to it. Let's see how we can do it with GSAP Animation. Now, once you understand how to create this basic template, let me show you how you can add animation to it. I'm using GSAP to create all this animation. GSAP is powerful JavaScript library used for creating high performance animation on the web. It allows developers to animate HTML elements, CSS properties, SVGs, canvas, and even JavaScript objects with smooth transition and complex motion effects. So let's understand how you can use the GSAP in the project. If you don't know about GSAP, I have a complete course on it. You can find that course from the top right corner of the screen. Just for now, let's move on and see how you can use GSAP in the template. Just click on Doc, and here you can find the installation. Click on Installation. I'm using CDN to use GSAP, so just click on CDN. So with GSAP, you will get different plugins. So for this project, I'm using a scroll trigger plugin. So click on it. So this will add the script tag right down here. So you have to add this both script tag right inside your project. So back to the project, and at the bottom, after this footer right down here, I'm going to add both these script tag, just like this. And just out of that, we also need script.js file, our own JavaScript file. So create a new file here, script.js. Let's link this file to index. So right down here, we add a custom JS file command and say script.js. Let me save the changes. Now let me back to my website right here. And what we are going to do is we're going to add a scrolling animation to this text. So if I back to my finished website, then you will notice when I scroll down, you can see I'm going to have this scrolling text animation to this home section. And we're also going to have smooth scrolling to this home section. You can notice we are going to use the smooth scrolling to all these sections using Lineage.js library, and we add all the animation to the elements using GSAP. So let's see how we can add this animation. So I'm going to just back to my template, and what you have to do is you have to just modify a few things in the project. You have to open the hero section right here. You will notice here we have this h1 heading tag. What we have to do is we have to separate each characters from this word. So we can easily animate each character one by one and scroll up to the top. So to do that, I'm going to get rid of this division tag right from here and then add here a class called title. And inside that title, we have first name division tag. And then inside that, we have a span tag with the class name. And then I'm going to add this text alphabet right inside this span tag. So we have H first, duplicate these 2 more times, and then we have here I, and then we have here a comma, this one. And just out of this first name, right down here, I'm going to create last name. And to this last name, I'm going to do the same, but this time I'm going to pass this alphabet. So we first say here I, then add here M, just like this. Let me save the changes. You can see we have the result something like this. Now, let me copy this title. Do the same for this John Doe text. I'm going to copy this division tag and paste it right down here. And then I'm going to change the text. So now we have John Doe text inside a font tag. When I save the changes, we have the result something like this. Now what we need to do is we need to style this section a little bit. So back to the style.css, scroll up. You can notice here we have hero section. Inside a hero section, you have the title. You already have a title class. You will notice here you have a title class. Inside this title class, just out of this line height, you specify display flex, justify content center, and gap is going to be 2 rem. So when you add it, you will have the result something like this. Just out of that, you select the first name and the last name class, this one. So we select this first name and select this last name class, and then we select display flex. I save the changes, we're going to have the result what we want. Just out of that, let me add animation to this section. So once we link the GSAP to the index file, you can notice here, let's add a GSAP animation to this hero section. So back to the script file right here, I'm going to add here a multi-line comment just like this and say GSAP animation. The first thing we need is to animate hero section. So here we need to first create a timeline. But before we understand what is timeline, we need to understand what is twin. In GSAP, a twin is a basic animation in GSAP which changes the property of an object over a specific duration. It can animate properties like position, scale, opacity, color, and any CSS property. So we use twin to change the property of the CSS element, and a timeline is a container for managing multiple twins. It allows you to control the sequence, timing, and synchronization of the animation. Timeline can be nested and can include twins, callbacks, or even other timelines. So we first create here a timeline. So say constant, we create instance of the timeline hero timeline is equal to GSAP, the GSAP object, and then say here timeline, just like this. And inside this object, we initialize few properties. So first initialize scroll trigger, which is going to be trigger, and we trigger this scrolling effect on hero section. Just out of that, we add starting point of the animation. We start the animation when the top of the hero section reaches to the top of the viewport, and then we end the animation when the plus equal to 400 pixel of the element is reaches to the top of the viewport. So we are simply going to expand the scroll height by 400 pixel using this statement. Just out of that, I'm going to add here scrub to make the animation smooth and add pin. True. So we are going to pin the animation until we finish it. Just out of that, just after this timeline here, I need to add Y property to all these span tag, this one. So I need to specify translate Y to all these span tag. So here we add a comment and say iterate title span tag. And here I'm going to say document dot query selector all. And here we specify the selector. So first we say hero section Then we select the hero content. Then we select the title, and then we have a span tag inside it. And here we say dot for each. We call for each method, and in this parenthesis we call span and index. And here we call a function, something like this. And inside this function here we say hero timeline dot to. So here the to is a twin. Use this twin to change the CSS property of the element. So we first pass the span tag, this one, and then specify the properties which we want to change. So inside an object, here we pass y, which is minus 1500. Duration is going to be 4, and is going to be power 1 out. Now this is a different easing method in GSAP. You can find all the easing method right here. There are different easing method in GSAP. So if you want to change this easing method, you can change that right from here. Right after this object, here we pass a comma and say here index multiply by 0.1. So once the first span tag animation finish, I want to start the second one after 0.1 millisecond. When I reload the browser, oops, I think I misspelled something. Yeah, right here. It's not minus, it's plus equal to 400 pixel. Now, when I scroll down, you can see we have this animation to this text. That's super easy, right? And now I want to move this background as well when I scroll down. So to do that, just down here, we add GSAP dot to. We select the selector first, hero section, and then pass your comma, and in the object we first say y property is equal to minus 1200, then duration is going to be 4, is going to be power 1 out. Now just for that, let me copy this timeline scroll trigger object and pass that right down here. And instead of this 400, now I'm going to say 800 and leave everything as it is. Let me save the changes. And now when I scroll down, you can see we have this smooth effect to this background as well. I don't have this effect to rest of this layout. So to add this effect, I'm using Linux.js library. So let's see how we can use that. Now you can see in the finished website, when I scroll down, we have this smooth animation to all these sections. So to add this smooth animation to all the website, I'm using this JavaScript library to add a smooth scrolling to the website. Linux is a lightweight JavaScript library designed for smooth custom scrolling experiences on the web. It allows developer to create a smooth scrolling animation with enhanced control over how scrolling behaves. Linux.js simplifies the process of adding smoother scroll effect, making website feel more polished and interactive. I'm using CDN to use this JS file inside a project. So first, we need to use this style.css file. So let's copy this style.css back to the index.html, and at the top, we need to import that right up here. Just out of that, back to the website again, and then you have to copy this script file, this one, and then paste that right down here for your custom JS file. Save this file back to the script.js, and just down here, let me add here a comment, a multi-line comment, and close this hero animation. And then here we add a Linux scrolling mode animation, just like this. Right inside this, here we need to initialize and use this lineage to make the scrolling smoother. So here we say constant is equal to create a new object of lineage, just like this. Make sure name is exactly same because this is a type of class. And then I'm going to add here a property called duration, which is going to be 3. Now you have to pass this inside an object. So here you add object and pass the duration, just like this. Then you have to add a function rfa, then add time linux.off time, and then add here request.animation frame rf a. Then you call at the bottom request animation frame rf. You don't have to worry about this code. You can find this code right here. Oops, I think I misspelled something in my code. Yeah, right here. The documentation, this is RFN. Just copy this, paste that right here. Save this file, back to the template, and now when I scroll down, I'm going to have this smooth scrolling. You can notice. Now, to start that, let me add here a click event to this hamburger menu. I'm going to scroll up, right up here. I'm simply going to add a comment, a multi-line comment, and say navigation menu, just like this. Copy this, paste it here. This is a closing navigation menu. And here I'm going to say constant hamburger menu is equal to document dot query selector, and then we are going to select the hamburger menu. So we select the hamburger menu, this one. Copy this, pass that here, just like this. And then I'm going to say constant nav list is equal to document dot query selector, and then we're going to select the nav list, just like. Then just down here I'm going to say hamburger menu dot add event listener, and the type of event is click, and I'm going to call here a function, something like this. Then I'm going to add nav list dot class list dot toggle, and then I'm going to toggle a class called show. As you know, when I add this class right here, I'm going to hide this navigation menu. But when I remove this class, save the changes, we're going to have these navigation tabs. So we're going to do the same with JavaScript. So we are going to just add and remove this class from the hamburger menu. Let me save the changes. And now when I click on it, you can see we have this navigation item. This is just a simple navigation menu we are using in this template. When I scroll down, you can see we have these grid items. What I want to do is I want to make these grid items horizontal scrolling. So when I scroll down, you can see we have this horizontal scrolling here, and then move to the next section. So let's see how we can create this beautiful animation with GSAP. Now let's make this work section something like this. So we are going to convert this grid into horizontal scrolling using GSAP. So let's take a look at how to do it. So I'm going to open the VS Code. So I'm going to open my project and back to the index.html. Here, let me minimize the header, and then I'm going to open the work section. And right here, we have to change this layout of this HTML, because now we are going to convert this layout into horizontal scrolling. So let's change this layout. So instead of grid layout, I'm using flexbox. So at the top, right up here, I'm going to add a comment and say horizontal scrolling. And then here we create a div with the ID horizontal scroll. And inside this div right here, I'm going to first put this title as it is, something like this. And then after this title, I'm going to put the horizontal scroll wrapper. So right here, we create a division tag with the class horizontal scroll wrapper. And inside this, we have a class called horizontal. And inside this, we have a div with different images. So first, I'm going to add an image tag, and then we pass here dot / asset, and then specify the image. And then if you want, you can specify the image alt attribute to img1 and so on. That's upon you. So let me add all the images right down here. So let me copy and paste this, change this image to image 2, do the same for third image, just like this, and do the same for all the images. So we have all the images inside this division tag. Once we done that, just minimize it and let's back to the style.css. Save the changes. You will have the result something like this. Now just back to the style.css and open the work section, this one. And at the top, right up here, I'm going to call this class horizontal scroll wrapper right here. And then I'm going to specify overflow hidden and height is going to be 625 pixel. Save the changes. So we have this height to these images. Inside this, as you know, we have this horizontal class. So let me copy it and then select that class just like this. And then here we specify display flex and height is going to be 100%. We have the result something like this. Just after that, I'm going to select all the descent and division tag. So I'm going to first select the horizontal class. So right down here, I'm going to say ampersand, select all the descendant divs and then specify display flex to it. And flex shrink is going to be 0 and padding is going to be 0 to the top and bottom and 5 pixel to the left and right. When I save the changes, we're going to have the result something like this. I need to just remove these grid items. Just minimize this horizontal as it is, up like this, and get rid of this grid right from here, just like this. Now when I save the changes, you can see we have these horizontal images. I want to add the horizontal scrolling to these images. So let's use GSAP for that. So just back to the script.js, scroll down, right down here. Let me create multi-line comment. And then here I'm going to say feature work section. And then I'm simply going to copy this, paste that here, add here /, and then here I'm going to put the horizontal scrolling GSAP animation code. So first I'm going to say let horizontal section is equal to, then we select document.query selector, and right here I'm going to select the horizontal class, this one. So just copy it and pass that here. Just out of that, once we have it, just call the GSAP object, then call to, and to the selector we pass the same class horizontal, or you can simply pass this object right here. That's upon you. Just out of that, I'm going to call here comma and then pass here an object. And just out of that, here I'm going to move these images to the left side. So what we need to do is we need to use here x transform x property and then call here a function, the inline function, something like this. And to this inline function, I'm going to pass the horizontal scrolling width. So here I'm going to say horizontal selection dot scroll width divided by -1. We are going to just pass a negative value to this x property. Now this x property is going to move these images to this left side because we have a minus sign here. So when we scroll down, this is going to move these images to the left side. But when I save the changes, this won't work because we don't have the scroll trigger to this GSAP. So we need to pass here a comma. Let me add here x% as well. X% 100. And then at the bottom, we need to add a scroll trigger, this one. So this animation is only going to work when we scroll. So just here, we're simply going to pass this horizontal scroll just like this. Then here we pass center and center. Then we get rid of this, and here we pass plus equal to 2000 pixel. This is a width of this horizontal bar. So here we say expand the width, scroll width 2000 pixel. Just after that, here to the scrub we pass 2. Then to the pin we are going to pass the horizontal scroll. So we pass here hash and then say horizontal scroll. And just after that, at the end we pass invalidate refresh, which is going to be true. Let me just save the changes and show you the result. Now when I scroll up, we have the previous animation. When I scroll down, this is going to pin, and we are able to scroll to the left side. So we have the horizontal scrolling, and when this horizontal scrolling end, this move to the next section. You can notice. That's easy, right? Now let's take a look at how you can create this text animation to this about me. Now once you understand how to create this horizontal scrolling, let's move on and create this text animation and move this background parallax when we scroll up, something like this. So we'll see this small effect to this background when I scroll up and down. You can see. Let's add that to the website. So I'm going to back to the project and get rid of this white space. Now right down here, let's add multi-line comments just like this. Here we are going to add about me and then close this. Now just for that, here I'm going to say constant text is equal to GSAP dot utils dot to array, and then we select all the text. So if I back to the index.html, minimize this work section, and just after that, right down here, we have this about section. And right here, we don't have here a text class. So let's add that text class here. So add here text. And I'm also going to add this to this paragraph as well. So instead of adding text to this paragraph, I'm going to grab this text and put that in different paragraph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all this text and divide all that text into different paragraphs, something like this. And then I'm going to pass class to it, which is text. That's it. Now let me save this back to the script.js, and you can see we have the same result. And then I'm going to back to the style.css. Right here, I'm going to open the about section, this one. And as you know, we have the text class inside this about. Right here, I'm going to add a class called .text. Then add width 100%. Color is going to be the RGB color. So I'm going to grab the RGB color and pass that here. Then add background. And background is going to be the linear gradient color. So I'm going to pass here a linear gradient color like this. Then I'm going to add WebKit background clip property, which is going to be text. And then background clip is going to be text. Then add background size 0%, which is the initial position, and transition to background size property. And I'm going to add here cubic bezier easing function, something like this. And then add a second 0.5 second. Let me save this file back to the script.js, and right down here, I'm going to select the text class, which we already link to all the text. And then here we call text element just like this. Then call for each text, and then call gsap.to text, and then add the background size, which is going to be 100%, and is going to be none. Make sure you add the scroll trigger. So when you scroll, you will get this animation. So trigger is going to be the text. Then start is going to be center 80% and end is going to be center 30%. Then we add scrub. Let me save the changes. Back to my website. And now when I scroll down, you can see we have this text animation. Now let's add an animation to this parallax image. So just back to this script and right down here, create a variable constant parallax is equal to document dot query selector, and here we pass parallax. Just out of that we call GSAP dot to, and then we call here parallax just like this. Then we call here background position, and then we call here background position is going to be 0 pixel 100%. Ease is going to be none, and duration is going to be 4. Just out of that, I'm going to copy this scroll trigger and paste that here. But instead of text, now I'm going to call parallax here, and this became 60 minus 60% top, and this became bottom and bottom. Everything is going to be the same. Let me save the changes. And now when I scroll up and scroll down, we have this effect. And what you have to do is you have to just add a CSS to make a smooth transition to this image. So just back to the style.css, to this parallax right here, you have to add here transition to all 2 second is out. Save the changes. And now when you scroll up, scroll down, you have this smooth effect. So that, let me just show you how you can create the footer animation. This one. Now just back to the index.html, and to create this beautiful footer animation, just back to the index.html, open the footer section, and right here you have to wrap this let's create this text into a wrapper. So I'm going to grab it, and here I'm going to call wrapper something like this and paste the text again. Let me save the changes. If you back to the style.css and open the footer, then you will notice here inside this flex right here, inside this left, you can see inside this left you have a wrapper class. So let's create that class in the style.css. Right up here, I'm going to create dot wrapper and say overflow hidden, and then specify background color just to understand what I'm going to do. Save the changes, and then I'm going to say margin 2 rem to the top and bottom and 0 to the left and right, something like this. I'm going to select the h1 heading tag, this one of the wrapper. So right down here, I'm going to say h1. Here I'm going to specify line height 100 pixel, and transform translate y is going to be minus 40 pixel. When I say the changes, you can see I'm trying to move this text to the up side. So when I move this text to the up, I'm going to use overflow hidden property to hide this text. So if I increase this value to 80, you can see I'm just going to hide this text. With 150 pixel, I'm going to completely hide this text from this viewport. Now let me save the changes back to the script.js, and right down here I'm going to add multi-line comment and say footer, something like this. Copy this, paste that here, and then I'm going to say gsap dot to, then select the footer ID, this one, then select flex, and then select the wrapper class. And inside that we have h1 heading tag, this one. And then here I'm going to pass a comma and pass an object. So what we are going to do is we are going to pass y property to 0 when we scroll down, and the duration is 4 seconds. So we pass here 4, and make sure you call the scroll trigger just like this. But instead of this parallax, now we call this h1 selector, this one, just like this. After that, I have to change this as well. I'm going to start this animation when the top of the element reaches to the 60% of the viewport. And then here I'm going to say when the bottom of the element reaches to the 60% of the viewport. Just for that, the scrub is going to be 4, and then I'm going to save the changes. Now, when I scroll up, this is going to hide this text, and when I scroll down, we're going to have the text back. So now I can remove this background color right from here, and we have the animation what we want, you can say. That's super easy, right? So we successfully completed the animation of this template. So it's super easy to make this complete template attractive with GSAP. You can notice. I hope you understand how to make your template more attractive with GSAP. If you find anything useful, make sure to press the like button, share this video with your friends, subscribe for more latest videos. That is all for now. I will see you in the next one.